Welcome to Anti-Aging Unraveled with Dr. Lori Gerber. The body is one of the most complicated systems in the universe. Dr. Gerber and her guests explore integrative medicine and cosmetic dermatology, combining traditional medicine, alternative health practices, new innovations, and technology which work together to help you look and feel natural and age gracefully. Now, here is your host, Dr. Lori Gerber.
Good evening, everybody. It's another rainy Wednesday night on the East Coast, and it's a really exciting night for me, I have to say, because we're not going to talk about medicine for a change. We're going to switch gears a little bit. I decided for the summer to do more of an inspirational series, and our lead-off guest is one of my wonderful friends, so I'm very excited to have him on. His name is Jordan Torres, and he is now 28, but I will always and forever see him as a 17-year-old. So forgive me throughout this if I chuckle or laugh, because he has become an amazing person and has just a story to tell that I think is an inspiration to anybody. And I'm glad to have him on. So without letting him sit there and hang, Jordan, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's my big sister. I did grow up pretty fast, but I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to share some inspiration with others and explain my story for somebody who's out there that's been in my shoes or, know somebody's in my shoes. So it's all about helping and giving back. So it's kind of medicine still, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you've always been an inspiration to me, even at 17 years old, I have to say. I mean, the things that you were doing at 17, not doing stupid 17-year-old kid stuff, right? So even at 17, it was like, wow, that's 17 for you. So, I think you guys will realize that he is an extraordinary person and just comes from just amazing moral background and really just is grounded. And if you can take anything out of this today, it's that really you make your own way in this world. And so I think that's what you're going to get out of this. And I intend to kind of move that forward as the podcasts and radio shows progress. So I guess we'll start by just telling us a little bit about yourself. What have you been doing? Why does someone want to look out for Jordan Torres? Who are you?
Okay. So first and foremost, what I have been doing, I've been, I want to say, full-time modeling for the past 7 years. And I started out playing rugby, and then now I'm finally getting into the stroke of the success part of it. I've had my fair share of the humps and dumps of, hitting the ground, getting back up. But I kept my head up. I kept moving forward. It hasn't been an easy journey, which I'm thankful for, because nothing worth having comes easy. But I've been at a good place in my life now, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, everything, all of the above. And where I'm from the Bronx. I'm from Bronx, New York. So a kid who made it out the Bronx to be where he's at today is very inspiring for others, because I'm not saying where I'm from, a lot of people don't make it out, but it's an easy place to take the wrong route. And to be where I'm at today it's a blessing.
Yeah. So I put a tagline on there that I was calling the Bronx Tale, because to me, this is, the true Bronx Tale. So tell us a little bit about your family and growing up. You're very close with your mother, and she's the woman of your life for all intents and purposes, is like I like to call her. So tell me about Mom. Tell me about your childhood.
Yeah, so my childhood growing up definitely wasn't easy. It was definitely a challenging childhood, not only being where I'm from, but my mom being a single parent and, losing my older brothers at such a young age. My mom had to kind of figure everything out on her own so suddenly. But that only brought me and my mom's bond very closer. She's a very strong lady, gave up. So I've kind of got that motivation and inspiration from seeing my mom struggle and not giving up no matter what. So for me, it fell onto me, but I had to grow up a lot sooner than others. I had to kind of man up at such a young age where, my friends were able to still be kids. And by the time I was 13, 14, 15, I was already looking for jobs, trying to work to provide for me and my family. So it was a tough childhood, but to the position I'm in today at 28, I don't regret anything that I've been through, because it made me into the man I am today.
So I'm going to back up a little bit just for those of you who don't know. So when you were younger, you didn't grow up with a dad, right? Your dad wasn't really ever in your lives, right?
No.
And you had how many brothers?
I had 3 brothers.
3 brothers. And what happened growing up? Like, what was the path that they ended up choosing that you honestly didn't?
Yeah, so 2 of my older brothers just so happened to, growing up in the Bronx, like I said, the tougher environment to grow in. So it ended up my brothers, losing their lives, unfortunately. And that for me it wasn't easy, because not only having my older brothers there who I looked up to as men because they were very strong, solid individuals, but my dad wasn't also in the picture. He came later in life, who recently passed a couple months ago, rest in peace, which I never held no grudges against him, only because life is too short, so I was able to create that relationship, but it just so happens to be that he's not here with us anymore. So I never really had a male role model to look up to. I never, because even I have another older brother who's my rock. I love him to death, but my brother had to kind of grow up on his own as well. He was there for me a lot, but we kind of had to really figure things out on our own. We had our mom to be our backbone, but it was time for us to man up and, and figure things out.
So tell me, do you have any stories about your mom? I know your mom's a character. Any good stories about how she, one, kept you on the straight and narrow, or maybe you was just a bowl full of laughs, because I know she's a riot. Growing up with your mom, yeah, quite the fun time. And if you guys want to check out his Instagram, his mom is on his Instagram, so we'll get to that at the end. But it's the official JT. But tell me a little bit about mom growing up.
Mom growing up, so I'll actually give you like you said, like if you guys want to see how funny she is, she's definitely on my Instagram. But I'll give you an inspiring story of my mom. My mom was born in Chicago. My mom moved to Puerto Rico by herself from Chicago. I think it was about 8 years old, And then at 16, my mom was like, you know what, I want to go make a life for myself in New York. So my mom got on a plane. She probably had like $600. No, I'm sorry. She actually had $300. Jumped on a plane to New York. She had some friends in New York. And my mom was actually homeless when she got to New York. This is the crazy part. And she had a friend that her dad owned a funeral home. And my mom would sleep in the casket late night after work and shower at her job just to get by. And then my mom became a super of a building in the Bronx. She got cool with the landlord, became the super of the building, and then started living rent-free. And she started living rent-free there. She got a job for herself. And then till this day, my mom still works for that same company that she got her first job from. So it's such an inspiring story. But my mom ended up, meeting my dad, had us, and then she met somebody else and had my other brother. But look, till this day, my mom has a place, like she's doing well for herself. And now it's time for me to buy her a house. That's what she deserves. So mom has been, I'm telling you, when I say I don't know anybody, because I'm sure everybody has their fair share of pain, but my mom is up there with crazy stories and making it out, So shout out to my mom.
Yeah, I love your mom too, although never met her yet. Mom, if you're going to listen, we still need to have dinner, right?
Yeah.
Have that dinner yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm gonna actually throw you a little curveball question, which I think could fit in really nicely here. So, what is mom your idol? Do you have any other idols? Who do you look up to in life? I know, or even maybe as a kid versus now, because I think it changes, right, as you get older.
Yeah. Honestly, I could say my mom's my idol strength and not giving up and, finding that inspiration. I definitely would say that. But when it comes to idolizing, I look up to myself. I just want to become the best version of myself. Of course, I have mentors, Marcus is one of them. Big love to my big brother, Marcus. But
you guys don't know.
Yeah. But for me, I've always wanted to just become the best version of myself. You know what? I didn't have people I look up to. I had people I knew I didn't want to be like.
Okay.
So
who do we have an example? Or is it not like a name, it's a type?
It's just a type, like I just feel like I just didn't want to take the wrong direction and the wrong footsteps of certain like it's so easy to get caught up in an environment that I lived in to take the wrong. I have friends that aren't here anymore. I have friends that are serving time, away. And it sucks to say, but it's just who you surround yourself with is who you become. So I'm really big on who I surround myself with for that same reason, because I would not want to end up somewhere where I couldn't provide for my family. I couldn't provide for myself. Like I didn't want my mom to I didn't want my mom to lose another son, so I had to make the sacrifice to be where I'm at today.
So if my son's listening, did you hear what Jordan just said? Who you surround yourself with is who you become. And I think I always say, if they don't add to your life, they subtract, right? It's one of those things.
Exactly.
You need to have people that are continually positive influences in a lot of different ways, right? There could be I'm sure I add to your life totally different than Marcus does, and your friends add to your life totally differently. And we all have a little bit of a different opinion on things, but just coming from different avenues. So
100%.
So let's quickly, since you brought up your dad. So how was it to have your dad back in your life after all those years? Dad came back, and I know he's passed. And were you able to find like some kind of father figure in that in the end? Like, were you able to come to, I know you don't hold a grudge, but did it feel like that? Were you able to find that?
Yeah. Honestly, for my dad to come back in my life, it felt good. As you get older, you view things a lot different, So for me, my biggest thing is like, I've never had somebody I can call dad, like it was always mom. And of course, my mom loves that because she's the one that takes all the credit for being where I'm at, but she's also like, I'm happy you have a relationship. And so for him to come later, patched everything up, and I just like, he was proud of me. He was super proud of me because I was his last one of the boys, because I have a sister from my dad's side as well. So I was the last one from his boys, and he was just, man, I'm so happy to see my son doing so well. So for me, it kind of sucked though, because him passing, because the way the story was, for him not being in my life for so long, it was almost like I wasn't used to it, and I will forget to call him, because I just wasn't used to that relationship. So when it came to it, I know he'll call me, and then I'll call him from time to time. And then one time he called me, I was like, yo, Pops, I'm gonna call you back. And I never called him back, and I never heard from him again. So for me, it kind of changed my perspective on like, when somebody's in your life, appreciate them even more, no matter who it is, because you don't know how long they're gonna be here. So I wish I could have done things a little differently and been there for him more. And I was gonna bring him to LA to come spend some time with me, but I was just always pushing it on the side, thinking that he was gonna be here forever. So it caught me by surprise. But he's in a better place, He's with my brothers up there. My brothers got him, so I'm happy about that. And I'm gonna just continue to strive for them, just more angels watching over me.
You got a lot of them.
Yeah, I do.
So let's growing up, how did you stay out of trouble? Like, what was your outlet? Were you weren't playing rugby back then, right?
Mm-mm.
Did you
Not
have
yet.
sport that you were playing? Did you draw? Is there anything that kind of kept you on the straight and narrow besides threat of a beating?
Yeah. Truthfully speaking, I wouldn't say I wasn't getting in trouble, because I had my fair share of getting in trouble. I was a little like Dennis the Menace kind of boy. That was just who I was. But till this day, my friends that I grew up with, our fun wasn't getting in trouble and, starting trouble with people. It was, our fun came from different things, playing basketball, playing all kinds of sports, going on camping trips. Because we had where I grew up, we had a good foundation of people, and we had a guy from our neighborhood that we called Pops that kind of like, showed us a different way of life, which was good for us. So he kind of kept all of us in this bubble, showing us like, look, guys, there's other ways you can have fun. So me and all my me and all my best friends, we found excitement in different things. And when it came to that thing, like that thought of like going out there and starting trouble or, you know, joining gangs and all that stuff, it didn't really make sense to us. That just wasn't our vibe, you know. Our vibe was, like I said, just being kids, you know, like, so for me, it was kind of easy in that sense. And also what kind of steered me away from that direction was losing my brothers. I seen the route my brothers ended up in. So it kind of put me in a perspective like this, I can end up dead or I can end up in jail, you know? And for me, and my mom being on top of me and, you know, and saying like, stay out of trouble, stay out the streets, you know, I kind of just steered away from that direction. You know, I didn't want to, like I said, I couldn't see my mom go through what she went through again. I really couldn't.
How old were you when your brother died?
I was 6 for the first one, and then I was 8 for the second one. So when the 8-year-old one, I was close to both of them, but the 8-year-old one I used to call dad. Actually, he was like my dad, and I actually my mom was on the phone with my my godmother at the time, and my mom heard the gunshots. So she heard my brothers passed away, you know, and I was 8 sitting on the couch. My mom was telling her about my baseball game. And I seen my mom just go hysterical. And I was just like, what's happening, you know, to process everything. But now as I'm older, I can only imagine the pain my mom suffered, you know? So it was truly an eye opener, you know?
Well, I think, you know, you had mentioned, did you call him Pops? Is that what you called the guy on the show?
Yeah.
So I was talking a lot, and this is part of why I love your story. And I think there's such a lack of positive role models right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a city problem. It's a worldwide problem. But specifically in our area and in Philly and New York City, people have forgotten that what you're doing is representative of who you want the people around you to be, right? You know, you should be
exactly
yourself and other people in a positive light. And we just don't have that for our kids right now. I think for the most part, it's a very distressing time. So, you know, honestly, you're pretty lucky to have Pops because, you know, you could have ended up anywhere. And yes, you loved your mother, but not all kids have that empathy for their parents that you do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Have a positive role model.
I totally agree.
Yeah, that puts you in a good perspective. And when you got lucky, you had a personality that gave you empathy. Not all kids have that. Anyway, that's something that I think is a big problem, and I encourage people to volunteer your services, whatever. I mean, there's so many online services, and kids are looking for help. They
all the time
right now. There's no services. So, but anyway, that's my tangent. So let's talk a little bit about how you thrived. So you had what were your goals when you were younger? Did you have a goal? Did you know what you wanted to be? Were you one of those kids that I want to be this, or no, not really? You just didn't want to be dead.
How young?
I don't know. Before rugby, pre-rugby.
No, before rugby, pre-rugby, I didn't know what I was doing with myself. Okay.
So let's talk about rugby. How'd you find it? So for those of you who don't know, real quick, Marcus, my husband, and Jordan found each other in rugby. So that's how they became friends. Yeah.
So I went to high school to play basketball, and my high school was new at the time, so they didn't have a basketball program. So there just so happened to be a bunch of guys that was playing for this rugby club for New York that was going around and just recruiting people. And I ended up seeing one of my good friends from the neighborhood as he came into the class. And I was like, hey, you know, like Joe. He's like, Jordan? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yo, come play rugby. So I'm like, you know, I was freshman in high school. I had no idea. Like, I wanted to make friends, you know, kind of like they were all the senior guys. So I went and I was, you know what? I went and practiced and I was like, man, what is this? Like, but it was like, for me, I like challenging myself. I've always been somebody who likes to challenge himself. So I was like, but I've always been athletic, and I've always played sports. So I was like, maybe I can get good at this. Who knows where this could take me, you know? So after the first couple of practices, I became friends with everybody, and I was like the cool little freshman, cool all the seniors. was like, all right, I'll stick around, be the cool guy for a little bit. And then I just ended up being like talented at this game that I was like, hey, like what? Like, because when I played basketball and I came to crunch time, I would choke up, like I would get my fair share of nervousness. I wouldn't perform as I usually do. But when it came to rugby, I would just be phenomenal, and I was just like, whoa, man, like I have this, like this is why I was put on this earth. Like I got the talent for this game. Like this is a God-given talent. So I'm going to run with it. And then I just fell in love with it, and it became everything to me. So it became a Bronx boy that was just focused on rugby in school. That's the only thing I could just put my mindset on. So I was like, man, this could probably get me to college. This could probably change my life. Mm-hmm. So now that's when I realized I knew I wanted to be great at something. And of course, like I wouldn't say like school, but like I wasn't the biggest bookworm, but I was a great athlete. So I was like, man, I want to be the best I can be in this sport. So that fell into that. And that's when I knew myself. I'm like, man, I'm dedicated. I want to practice. I want to be good at something. And rugby became everything in that sense for me. And then I want to say a year later, I was traveling on my first plane ever to New Zealand. Like my first flight was to Los Angeles. And then the second flight was from Los Angeles to Auckland for 14 hours. And I was like 16 years old going to New Zealand to play rugby. Who would have thought, like to be in the position I'm in? So that's how I fell in love with the game. And then I'm still in love with it to this day. Of course, I had to switch paths a little bit, but that's how I found rugby. Say it again. How
long did you play in New Zealand?
I was there for a month.
A month? And then and then you came back.
Then I came back and I played for the USA team. And then after the USA team, got recruited to all these D1 universities. Mm-hmm. And then I was playing in the summer. And then I traveled. We traveled overseas. So I became
to Cuba, guys. That was amazing. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's where maybe the direction changes a little bit, right? A little bit after Cuba. So, and I think this is really important because everyone comes to a crossroads in life, and you make decisions. Everybody makes decisions for different reasons, right? So back then, if you had asked me, which I didn't get asked, I think it was Marcus, but if you had asked me what decision you should have taken, or what direction, I might have given you a different answer. But I mean, looking forward, successful, amazing, you're doing great things. So let's talk about that. So you were playing rugby, we went to Cuba, we did an exhibition, kind of a tournament there.
Correct.
What happened? You got, something happened, right? You had I call it the fork in the road.
Yeah. So prior to that, I just so happened to be walking around downtown and somebody stops me and they're like, oh, hey, are you a male model? And I was like, no, like just regular kid, he's like, oh, you should be one. You got the look, you got this. And that time it was school or mom, but for some weird reason, I felt like it was time for me to take a shift in a certain direction. I don't know why, but something just came over me that day when I got home, and I was like, your life's about to change. Like which route you take, it's going to change. But I was like, which route is going to benefit me and my family rather sooner than later? Mm-hmm. What can I do? And like I told you, I've always taken sacrifices. I've seen my mom make sacrifices. So being in that position for myself, I was like, okay, well, I love rugby. I still can play rugby, and I also still can make, some money, because I needed to make money at the end of the day. Like I had to do something that was going to make money, just because, one, I couldn't afford school. I got accepted to Penn State University Park. I had a decent scholarship, but not enough to come out of school and have me and my mom in a hole, like a ridiculous hole. So I was like, hey, like, let's shoot my shot. So at that moment, I was like, okay, let me go and sign this contract and see if I can see where it takes me.
So this random
guy. This random guy, my old agent, random guy. 2 weeks later, I go sign his contract. He's like, hey, you're going to Paris. Pack your bags. I was like, Paris? He's like, yeah, you're going to Paris. You're going to go walk for one of the biggest runways. I was like, walk? I don't even know how to walk, like walk a runway. Like, I'm not used to walking runways. Like, one of my first jobs ever was in Paris Fashion Week, walking for Givenchy exclusive. So it was like, so then from that point on, doing that, I was like, okay, I was still juggling the both. Remember, I was still playing with Marcus. I was still doing, and then it was like, okay, I can't get hurt. Like, one thing I got to figure it out. Yeah, I heard this money maker. I'm done. So for me at that moment, I was like, okay, now you have to make that decision. And I made that decision, and now look where I'm at. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I would have never thought I would be in the position I'm in today, looking back. But it took a lot of hard work and belief.
Do you miss rugby?
Every single day of my life.
Do you?
Every single day of my life.
So, and it's funny because you were picking two paths, and this is the hard part of it. Two paths that really are age dependent, right? Like,
yeah.
Right. So either way you could go. So, I mean, you can look at it totally two different ways. And my son's in a similar situation right now where he's trying to figure out his path through life. And, I always say there's the easy path and the hard path, right? And those paths might not be, I don't know, the easy one might turn out to be the hard one.
Yeah.
Straightforward. But, you could have taken a partial scholarship, gone to Penn State, played rugby for however many years. But then you damage your body, you get jacked up, all those good things. And then the question is, would you be as successful as you are now, or you take the other route where you model and take this chance on some random person who stops you in the street?
Yeah.
But you also become successful, but there is a term to it. So let's what are your goals after modeling? So let's talk about modeling a little bit really quickly, because I don't want to shortchange that, because if you guys want to see his modeling stuff, go on his Instagram, because I joke every day there's another amazing picture of Jordan. So, and that's not how we put it. We put it a lot more funny in our household, but it's nice for you guys. It's a very, very cool Instagram, and he does some really amazing shoots, to be honest. So let's talk about some of your.
Appreciate that.
So who's your? I guess what was your favorite? Because you've had so many.
Yeah. I always say this. My favorite shoot. It has to be shooting for Nike.
Okay.
I wanted to say, because I've worked for Nike for a long time, but Nike was one of my favorite brands, So Nike would have to be, and then working for like a lifelong company that, who's been around for many years and, kind of stamps you on your career. Being like, shooting the Versace fragrance. That was a big deal for me too. All right, those two.
Was it the year before last? Last year?
Which one?
The Versace.
2 years ago.
Right before COVID, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The year before COVID, yeah. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So did you see your billboard somewhere and look up and be like,
it was actually in Italy. I didn't see it. Somebody sent it to me. Yeah, what's funny? I've never seen any of my billboards.
Really? Not even like nowhere? Huh?
Nowhere. I've never seen. Well, no. You know what? I'm lying to you. Yes, I've seen one in California. That's it. My mom saw it as well. But I've never seen like one of my like I had a billboard in Vegas that was like Times Square, Florida, like big. Yeah, showed. Yeah.
All right. So you said you had the Vegas billboard and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Picture of it. I saw the picture of it. So it is amazing. But let's talk about this, because I think this is a really important one too. How would you encourage someone to go into this industry? Do you think has it been everything that you thought it would be? I don't know the answer to this. I don't know what you would answer, so I'm just kind of shooting.
Yeah. It's to be honest with you, it's definitely a very, very tough industry.
Okay.
Very, very, very tough. So for me personally, I would recommend it if it's what you want to do. If it's what you want to do and that's your dream, I totally support you behind it. But what I do have to tell you is prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for being told no. Prepare yourself for being told you're not, pretty much you don't look good enough.
Right.
Prepare yourself for being told you're too, big, you're too fat, you're too skinny, whatever. Like it's a really, it's a tough industry to be in, but it has its benefits. I feel like that's everything in life, though. Everything in life is kind of like that, But it is what it is. You just gotta be willing to roll with the punches. It's not. You know what? I can say it like this. This industry isn't for the weak.
Right. Well, I presume too that there's a lot of social pressures too. I mean, just so you guys know, another part about him, doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, just a stand-up, literally wholesome guy. But in that industry, I would presume that there's a lot of going out, a lot of partying, a lot of being social. That's a hard thing, right? It's not only the social pressures of just looking good all the time, but the pressure to drink, the pressure to be whatever, to do drugs. So I think it's a pretty amazing thing that you are so straight-laced and have kept it that way and really kept it real, just kept who you are. And that's very, very tough to come by. So, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Lori.
Yeah, of course. Got to keep
Dr. Lori. I'm sorry.
Oh, whatever. Everybody calls me Lori. You know this by now. So I want to talk a little bit about fitness. So, when I first met you, you were a very skinny 17-year-old. So,
yep. Skinny little boy.
You were tiny and you were thin until, gosh, I don't know, what, mid-20s? Probably? That you were still small?
Yeah, like 21.
Yeah. So
21, yeah.
what do you do to stay in shape? What's your go-to I know what it is now, so let's give that. What is your go-to?
So me personally, my go-to will always be pull-ups, push-ups, dips.
Okay.
That's my go-to. That's all I do, When I started getting bigger once I got cut from the USA trials. It was like, you know what, let me go put on some size and get big and come back. Cause I was very skillful in rugby, but I wasn't a big guy. And that can only last you so long playing against these big guys. Like you see, I was going up against guys like Marcus, I'll give Marcus a run for his money now. But anyway, so I had to put on some size to do that. And I started, I hit the weights. I was going to the gym twice a day, getting big. Just, wasn't a really big fan of supplements. Still to this day, I don't really take much supplements. But I want to say that I'm very blessed genetically. It's just kind of easy for me to put on some size and muscle mass. But right now, maintaining is just pull-ups, push-ups, dips, bodyweight squats, 5 days a week. My workouts consist of 10 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 10 dips, 15 knee raises, 15 squats. So that's one set. So I'm doing that 25 times. So it probably equals. So at the end of the day, it's 300 pull-ups, 300 push-ups, 300 dips, 300 squats. That's 5 days a week, depending on how I feel the next week, 4 days a week. I really listen to my body because recovery is extremely important. So that's the maintaining part of the fitness side of it. And, I don't eat junk. I'm not really a junk food either, just because my body is so sensitive to what I eat. And, like if I'm sleeping enough. So for me personally, I try to keep that balance, 70-30.
Okay. So you guys got that? You want to do all those push-ups, pull-ups, dips, squats, raises, right?
Good luck.
Got it. So that's our next Instagram challenge. You're going to start it.
The 300 challenge.
Yep. The 300. And we're just going to start at what? Like one set? Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I'll get my little guy started on that, which he's just started doing boxing in the basement, and we're doing a compound exercise routine. So I'll start him on those. We'll become the new Jordan Torres program.
Yeah.
Right. So, and just so you guys know, we have talked about doing some stuff together at some point.
Yeah,
So
we're running soon.
yes, I have a couple of things in the works with weight loss program supplements. So you said you don't really take anything. Do you do a pre-workout? Do you do a post-workout?
Honestly, no.
No? Okay. So it's just
I've taken a sample of a pre-workout once my whole life.
wow. Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah,
So
I know.
no
Trust me, it blows
steroids,
everybody's mind.
everybody says it. And even people that I know that I show your pictures to, there's no steroids in this. And I always say, I'm like, he would never do it anyway. So
Yeah, I get that all the time.
yeah. Well, because you're very big and you are lucky. You're lucky that you can put on muscle mass, but there's no
Yeah.
steroids involved in this. Right. So what's next for Jordan? What about your movie? Talk about your movie.
Which one?
Diego, right?
Yeah, Diego, the Amazon movie. Yeah, that came out about, I want to say like what, a year ago on Amazon?
Over a year ago.
Yeah. But you know what? For me is I'm auditioning like crazy. I'm auditioning for some big stuff that could change my life tomorrow.
Okay.
But it's crazy because like as much as I got so much on my plate. I'm just so busy, being a full-time model, traveling. I've been for the past since January, I haven't been in one state for more than a week. I've just been traveling, like flying nonstop, so I've been so busy, which is I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
But right now I'm really just focused on building my brand, building JT, like I have a solid fan base, thankfully, that support me. And I want to just do something for myself that's going to, pay off in the long run. And that's if coming out with calendars, coming out with, like merchandise, coming out with, as we spoke, supplements and all that. So right now, my biggest thing is just focusing on my brand. And as of acting, something is going to give. I got some things in the work. I'm actually going to doing something with my brother's story, So it's busy right now. It's a busy time right now. It's a very, very busy time right now. But I signed up for this.
Yeah, you did. Well, this was appropriate then if you want to do something with your brother's story, because it's a story. It's a great story. It's motivational to anyone. So, what do you do when you're done acting? Anything else? Do you ever want to like start a business? Do you ever like, or what do you?
Oh yeah, 100%. So once I'm done with that, well, real estate.
Okay.
Real estate is something that, I got something going right now. I don't want to talk too much about it. I like to surprise people, but yeah, by the time I'm done acting, I plan to have some, more real estate. I plan to, have my companies rocking up, and letting money make itself. So I would, one of my lifelong dream is a gym. I said that in my last interview. I want to open a gym.
Okay.
Just because I love the feeling the gym gives to people, and I want to do something like that. But day by day, step by step. Right now the next step is finishing out this process with my mom's house and everything. Seeing my mom smile, because while my mom is still here, I want her to live her dream. So,
where are you getting her house? Did I miss that?
So it's gonna be back east.
Okay.
Somewhere upstate or somewhere in Connecticut, because my brothers are buried back home. So my mom doesn't want to leave my brothers. So like somewhere like LA or something wouldn't make sense for her. She kind of wants to stay somewhere more local, just because, like I said, my brothers are buried there.
Gotcha. And I'm going to ask the question for everybody else and that's on Instagram and on social media that asks me, are you single? You knew it. It had to be.
Hey, that was a good one. I'm happy you asked me that. You caught me by surprise. But yes I am. Yes, I am.
All right, he's single, guys. So, I'm just saying. You can hit him up. Now that his Instagram's gonna light up like crazy.
Yeah.
Not on fire, but all right. So listen, I want to bring up a couple of things. One, I want to ask if you could give one piece of advice to a kid that's struggling growing up with anything, struggling with parents that maybe don't support him, struggling with an environment that maybe, you know, poverty or maybe just lack of opportunity. What's the one thing that you would say to a kid in order to keep his hope, I should say?
Oh, so that's a great question.
Yeah, like what advice would you give him or her, I should say?
Nothing lasts forever.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is we're all going to suffer through bad times, but it'll all make sense. It'll all make sense soon. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. I've been in situations where I felt like I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So like if any kids out there is struggling with anything, we know when it comes from struggling parents, struggling job, whatever it is, I promise you, bro, things get better. Things will continue to get better, but you can't. As a cliche as it is, like the term of never giving up is so true though. Like as you get older and you get in certain situations, you realize you just can't give up. So if you're struggling right now, I promise you just continue to have faith, but don't give up. Don't give up. And always remember, nothing lasts forever, the good or the bad. So you got to roll with the good and you got to roll with the bad because nothing is going to last forever, but always enjoy the moment.
Is that tattooed somewhere?
Not yet.
Just asking. Not sure. I wasn't sure. No, I didn't know that one was written anywhere. No, it's good. That's good. I think that in this time of COVID and post-COVID and wherever we're calling this current situation, the lack of availability of therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists and help and role models like we talked about is a really big deal, which is why I want to do this inspirational series, because there is help out there and it might not be through traditional means. And that's kind of why I wanted to put this out there, because we need to understand that there's people that are suffering in ways that a lot of us can't understand, but we need to be role models and representative of people that someone wants to emulate, right? That someone wants to be like. I look at my son, and COVID was tough, right? I would say my older one graduated high school during COVID. My younger one was virtual for a year. And, you know, it changes people, right? And I am thankful that we have coping skills in our household and with our kids that they have been able to be okay. But I've seen the downside, or what happens to kids and adults for that matter, from the isolation and from the lack of maybe even just feeling confident or motivated or being around other people. And it's really sad. So I like that. I like that it doesn't last forever. And I think we should think about that too. And we're all fighting over wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, whatever, this is temporary. We all live in the same place, right? So, I think that if we can really try to help each other out, that's really what it comes down to. So
absolutely.
I mean, my piece of advice too would be, there's always someone out there that can help. It doesn't have I think we all look in these very traditional places. And I think you used a great example with that, with Pops. There's always someone there that you can look for or search out that can help. And yeah. So anyway, all right.
I agree with you.
So we got 8 minutes left or so. So I want to know what you consider to be your weakness. What is it, if you had to pick one thing that you would say, wow, this is my weakness?
I want to say having a good heart sometimes is a weakness for me.
Okay.
Because I give too many people the benefit of the doubt. And I had to get to the point where I had to just cut certain things out of my life, and being taken advantage of and stuff like that. I always feel too bad for things, and for people that shouldn't, like I always put my first foot forward, which I wouldn't want to say is a bad thing, but sometimes it can bite you, bite you in the behind in the long run. So I had to get to the point in my life where I had to stop accepting certain behaviors from certain people, and being where I'm at now, I got such a great thing going that I won't let anybody jeopardize that,
So, I agree with you. It's like that adding and subtracting thing, right?
Yeah.
I know. I have the same problem in life.
Yep.
You just give till there's nothing left to give. And sometimes you need to save some in the tank.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what about,
But
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm good.
No, finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, like, I'd rather have that weakness, though. I'd rather have a good heart. I'd rather have too much of a good heart than have anything less than that. That's it. No,
I agree. And you're making every girl out there that you already told that you're single going to start to message you. So, no, he really is a great person. And I think that, that comes out of how you're raised by your mom, too. I mean, your mom is a loving, kind, funny, like you said, enduring person. And instilled certain things in you. And, that carries over into everything in life. And I will tell you, from an outsider, it carries over in your work too. I mean, you can tell that you are passionate about what you do, that you love what you do, and that you care about what you do. And even in, a picture that I might joke around with you about, the fact of the matter is you cared about what you were doing at that moment, and you made it the best that you wanted to make it. So
exactly.
I think that's a great thing to have. And then, so let's see. What would you change about yourself physically and, like, I guess, not emotionally, but yeah. What would you change?
Well, what would I change about myself? Physically, nothing.
Nothing? Because, change anything?
No, I'm happy with myself. Honestly, okay. I'm super happy. I'm pleased with the skin I'm in. I definitely want to add more tattoos, but
oh, that's right. You want the whole sleeve finished, right?
Well, I finished my my right one. I want to add some to my left arm and my leg, whatever. But I want to say, what would I change about myself? Mentally, I would love to change. I would love to change my tempo in life. I'm very hard on myself. So I would love to change the way I think about certain things. And I'm 28, and I've seen friends that bought houses at 24, 25, and now I'm 28 and I'm about to get my first one. So I wish if I could go back to 24 and 25, and I wish I would have enjoyed those years more, because I was so focused and driven on doing so many big things that I looked past so many great memories and opportunities in my life because I knew what I wanted to do, So now being 28, and I changed it a little bit, I want to slow it a little bit more down because I'm always looking forward to the next thing. I'm always worrying about what's next. I'm always worried about where I got to fly next. And sometimes, like, I got to just slow down a bit more, like being in the moment, staying present, because life just goes right past your eyes without you knowing. Like, yeah. I'm 28 now. Like, I'm 28 now. I just had the best birthday of my life, though. I would say that, but it's crazy. So yeah, I would love to just be present more.
All right. Well, you got to tell us what you did for your birthday now.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Got it. So Vegas it is, guys. and that's why his hair is now blonde. That's what I was. Gotcha. So let's talk about COVID. How did COVID change modeling for you in life? Was it a huge transition? We have a couple minutes left. I kind of want to hear what happened?
Yeah, it was. No, of course. Yeah, it was a huge impact. A huge impact. Mind you, I almost got stuck in London because I was currently traveling during the beginning of COVID, and they almost didn't let me back in the country because I was traveling, working in London. So once I got back, I just had to stay home for 4 or 5 months without traveling in LA by myself, So I was just kind of like, whoa, like, like I make, my bread and butter from traveling across the country, the world, So for me, I took a huge impact, but in that sense, but the power of social media, I was able to do really well as well, So there's
social media promotions, like.
Yeah, so I have my contracts and stuff. So my contracts only kept renewing and getting even bigger just because the game has changed so much. But there's this saying that from this song that I like that the Migos, Quavo goes, we turned the pandemic to a bandemic, which is very true because for me, I had to really sit there and go, okay, now how can I capitalize off of this? So I instantly took social media and ran with it. And I've gained during, so the first year of COVID, I gained 100,000 followers.
Wow.
And now so in 2 years, I've gained 200,000 followers.
That's crazy.
So I had to really, marketing and get right with myself. And now I'm doing the best I've ever done my whole life.
Ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. A biopic. I want to do a biopic too.
I don't even know. What's a biopic?
So it's like this, like a biopic is like a story.
Oh, like a story.
Oh, I finally could teach you something.
Yeah, well, you can teach me a lot on social media. We all know this.
No, a biopic is like just like a movie of myself.
Okay, got it. Biofilm.
Yeah.
See, I need the lingo. See, I'm not in the industry. I don't know it.
No, you're good. Yeah.
So we have probably about 3 minutes left. So I was a little off of my time before. So I'm gonna ask you a couple random questions, and I'm just gonna kind of think of them off the top of my head. So, favorite place you've ever traveled?
Puerto Rico.
Ooh, Puerto Rico. Okay. Oh, by the way, he's Puerto Rican, guys, and he speaks no Spanish.
That's gonna piss them off.
I was just being sarcastic. No, he's Puerto Rican, and you've gone to Puerto Rico a couple times recently, right?
Yeah, I love. That's what I'm saying. Like, out of everywhere I've been, like when you say favorite, honestly, like when I think of favorite, I think of a place that I don't mind going back to.
Okay.
Which would be Puerto Rico.
Okay. Well, let's talk about favorite car. Ooh, like
Lamborghini.
What is it? Lamborghini? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be happy about that. And then favorite actress.
Oh. I got a lot, honestly. But I'll
have what? I got like a minute or something left.
All right, Margaret Robbie.
I don't even know who that is. Okay. I'm old, guys. Sorry. Who is that? What's she in?
She's in Wolf of Wall Street. She's in
okay.
Suicide Squad. Yeah.
Got it. Favorite color?
Navy blue.
Navy blue. Okay. And favorite model?
Man or woman?
Both.
I'll say woman. I'll start with Cindy Crawford.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like Cindy Crawford a lot. She's very beautiful. And for a man, I like the impact that Tyson Beckford brought to the industry.
That's exactly who I would have said. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Age. At least for that, because the other ones I'm like, whatever. All right, so we have about 30 seconds, so I'm going to close you out. So Jordan Torres, amazing person in general, but wonderful model, very well known in the model industry, blossoming acting career, rugby extraordinaire, Bronx Tale. If you want to follow him, go to Official JT on Instagram. Make sure it's Official JT. There are imposters out there, so please make sure you go to that one.
Be careful. Yep.
Yeah, be careful, the imposters. And you can ask us questions on info@mydrlori.com, or mydrlori.com has all the podcasts transcribed, or Voice America to listen to this again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Anti-Aging Unraveled. Be sure to join Dr. Lori Gerber again next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time and 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. We'll talk again next week and keep you aging gracefully.